Okay, I'm your host, Everlecia Taylor, and we're back again for another weekly How to Interview here at the WAWG Bookstore. So every week we interview the talented, the brilliant people, the poets in our community who are doing great things, and we have them here to ask them how they're doing it and how they can share with us to how we too can do it. So today I have a special guest, which is my sister Everkesia. She's also the co-owner of harrisforever.com with me, and she's going to be my interview. So I'm going to start off with my first question. You already know. Who is Everkesia?
Damn.
Look, I'm sorry, y'all. We got, all of us is Ever, so I always think about all my sisters, but this is Everkesia. So who is Everkesia?
Okay, so this is a loaded question. Well, Everkesia, I would say, of course, you already said I'm a poet, author, entrepreneur. But to be honest, like I would just say like Everkesia is just a person of substance. I feel like there's a lot of different layers to who I am, and I feel like I'm still like unraveling it. Like every day I'm like discovering something new about myself. So, but overall I would just say I'm a person of substance, and that I'm a good person, that, you know, every day I just try to be good, I guess.
Okay. Hold on. Okay, and then my next question. Hey y'all, welcome to the live.
What's up?
My next question is, what was the moment that you knew you wanted to be a poet?
I would say it would have to be, I'm trying to think, because technical difficulties.
Okay, there we go.
You gotta ask the question over again now.
Okay, so what was the moment that you realized you wanted to be a poet?
I would say it would have to be, I would say it would have to involve Nikki Giovanni. Actually, it's two different instances. So the first one I'm going to mention is Nikki Giovanni, mostly because like I'm a big fan of her. So like when I read her poetry, when I read her poetry books, I feel like the way she makes me feel is the way I would want someone else to feel. And then there was the situation of like, so I went to Blake High School and I was in the creative writing department there. And we had this thing called the Poetry Out Loud contest. That's when I like, starting off really, I really got into, and what is it? Spoken word poetry. I'm not really into that anymore, but like, that's really how I began. So with that, we had like this Poetry Out Loud contest. And then everyone in our class had to recite a poem. And I recited a poem by Al Young. This poem is titled, I Know Why the Blues... No. It's titled The Blues Don't Change. I think that's how the poem starts. But it's titled The Blues Don't Change. And during that moment, I did really well. And it was like the first time where I really felt like, damn, like, from another, like, from... It's really hard to explain. I promise you, it really is.
Just take your time, explain it.
It's just like, okay. I guess just way other poets make me feel makes me want to be a poet, I guess.
Okay, and then can you take us back to the first step of doing your first poetry book?
So my very first poetry book was The Girl Who Moves Forward. I wrote that book in 2017, and I published it in 2018. That book actually took me the longest to write because, first of all, it was my first time ever writing a book. So it was just mostly the process of learning how to write it, learning how to like structure a book, and learning how to really get the book out there, which was my way I did was I got it self-published because I didn't have a publishing company at the time. And I went through Amazon, which was perfect for me because they do like print on demand. But like with that whole other process, it was just me learning to do it. Because I had the content, every day I was writing poems. So that was like the easy part. It was just me being able to like bring it all together and like having a structure for it.
Okay. And then where did you get your resources? Because I know you said you started doing poetry in high school. So where do you feel like you got your resources for how to publish the book? Where was that, the resources for that you got?
I think what I did was just look at other poets. So like at the time I was like gathering up a bunch of different books from Amazon. I think I had purchased like 10 to 15 different poetry books.
Y'all, technical difficulties. Camera's falling. Okay.
All right, so what I had did was I purchased about 10 to 15 different poetry books, and then what I would do is just like go through all of them and see how like different poets set their books up from the cover all the way to the interior, and then just like how like the copyrights thing was, and then just learning like. And then also YouTube is also a great resource to use, especially when you're trying to do something for the first time. They give you a lot of tips on like other folks' process and what you have to do. But yeah, I would just look at other people's books of work and then just kind of like imitate it in a way and like make it my own. But like all books have like a certain structure it has to follow, so I was just following those. That was already there.
Okay. And what's one thing that you know now after publishing? How many books have you published?
I have 6 books published.
6. So what's something you know now after publishing 6 books that you wish you would have known when you first started?
I think, I don't know. I feel like early on I knew it was possible, but I guess just the fact that you can actually go far on your own. I mean, even though I feel like I'm still making progress every day, but like you really don't have to wait for anyone. Like at first when I was starting off, I kind of was thinking of, I reached out to a few different publishing companies. Then there's this whole thing where like your money is their money, and then you have to like kind of work with them on their time. And then I realized like there's literally resources out there where you can like find people to edit your book, find people to kind of like help you with the process. And you can literally move how you want to move and not have to wait for anyone else.
Okay. And then how much would you have say that you invested in your journey of self-publishing? Because people have an idea of how much they think it takes, but how much would you say a generalized number of how much it took you to invest?
Like per book?
Per book or all together, since you...
I think it gets easier and cheaper as you go, but I would say it really doesn't cost that much. I'll probably say like $200, $300
to publish one book.
Yeah, like if you're thinking of like, okay, if you need an editor, if you want to, I would say like have like 2 people edit your book minimum. So you pay the editors, you can pay them depending on your size of your book. You probably have to pay them more, especially if you're like a novelist. But it's poetry, so reading a poem isn't as intense as reading 1,000 pages of a story or whatever. So you have to pay your the editor of it, and then like if you need like cover designs, then you pay that person, and then I think also a lot of groundwork I was able to do myself, so the cost of it, I think that kind of cut it down. But it was really not that, it's not expensive to do at all, really.
Okay. And then I feel like I can speak for a lot of writers and poets with this question is, how do you get over the fear of sharing like your most intimate work with the world? Because I think that's a lot of poetry or writers deal with. How do you get over that?
I think that you have to think about the purpose of why you write. Because I feel like originally I write for myself, first and foremost, before anyone ever reads it. The reason I write is to help myself, to help me express how I'm feeling, or to help me get through whatever situation it is I needed to get through. Mm-hmm. And then once that poetry has done what it needed to do for me, then I feel like I come to a place where I'm open enough to like speak about it and tell other folks about it. Because now at this point, me publishing my book isn't really for me, because me writing a poem is for me. Me publishing the book is really for other folks, and to just give them something to relate to and something to resonate with, and just remind them that they're not alone, and that there's other folks out here feeling what they're feeling, going through what they're going through, and just having that, I guess.
I'm listening. No, that's really interesting perspective. And then my next question is, how do you go about promoting your poetry books after you publish? Because I know that the publishing is one side, and then it comes to marketing game. So how do you do that part?
Yeah, actually, I went to school for marketing. I went to St. Leo University. I graduated with the bachelor's degree in marketing. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, even with poetry, with any business, if you're an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things about business is being able to market your business. And I feel like even as somebody who went to school for marketing, it's not as easy as it looks. I feel like the first purpose of it is really just awareness, making people aware that you exist, that your product exists, that your services exist. And then like really finding different avenues to really just reach them. And I feel like even in this day, a lot of folks, we still like figuring it out, because it's something that's constantly evolving, you know. First it was word of mouth, and, you know, social media came out, and then like now we have this tool and this resource. But then again, you have to really get creative with it. You got to be real consistent. And that's really one of the things I like, is consistency, especially when you're an artist. Like, you really want to focus on the content and writing and producing that. And then it's like you really have to step away and kind of put on another hat and like focus on the marketing aspects of things.
Okay. Yes, and you mentioned about staying consistent. Do you have any mentors or anyone that you feel like have helped you kind of stay consistent with your journey of being an entrepreneur or being a poet? Like, who are your mentors coming up into your business and also being a poet?
I would say business not wise you, because we in business together, obviously. Mm-hmm. And like just the folks you're in business with, we kind of like be on each other, like, we need this done, this has to be done, yada yada yada. But when it comes to poetry and like me like writing books, I don't think there's really an outside source that really pushes me to continue to write. Because I feel like if nobody reads my poems, I'm still gonna write, because again, the purpose of me writing was always for myself originally. So I'm not gonna stop writing regardless. But I'm not even gonna lie, I feel like I am in a weird place where I have been like contemplating whether or not I wanted to continue to like publish books. And I think I will, but I think I'm just wanna write and just like kind of better my craft, and then like also marketing, just like helping myself get out there more, I guess.
Okay. And then...
Can I answer the question?
Yeah, you answer the question. You answer the question. So what do you love most about the whole process of poetry? Like, what is your favorite? I imagine it could be writing, but what's something that people wouldn't know about the process?
I would say how it comes. Like, it could be like super random. And like, I don't know, like I can get like I write a lot. So like if I get like, it's just like the most, like literally the most random things. I remember I was at my friend's house, and I was outside his house just writing poems, like literally about the most random things. And it came up to like, I wrote a poem about, like, I mentioned the brick that was on the ground. Something that would be like so irrelevant to anybody who wasn't like using it, if you wasn't like building something or, you know, using it or whatever. But like how the poems tend to come together, I think is the best part about it. Because I can start one way and it can end, and then it can fall into a different, you know, another direction, and then become something I never expected it to be.
Do you write poems about people? Come on. So I asked that question because how do you deal with, because I know people do memoirs, they do poetry books, and sometimes they're about people. How do you go about the process of putting a poem out that's about someone that may be good, that may not be, you know, the best light, or that is a good light? Like, do you tell them, okay, I did this poem about you, look at it, or do you just say, just put it out there and hope that they see it? Like,
no, I can't say I don't write poems about people, but like the origin of when I do write a poem about a person is usually based on myself and how I feel about that person. It's never really just you just being you. You know what I mean? It's not just, I mean, obviously maybe it's something you did that sparked something in me that made me want to write a poem about you that involves you. What you smiling for?
I'm trying to, my next question.
Okay. But yeah, it's mostly just like how I feel, and then if I have some type of emotion towards you about how you make me feel, or even something that involves you, I write it. But if it's like I don't know, usually I tell the person. I wouldn't like not tell them. If I felt like, if I was gonna put it out there and I felt like they would know it's obviously about them, then I would tell them.
You ever wrote a poem about me?
No.
Dang, y'all, she ain't even wrote a poem about me. No, I'm just saying.
Girl, you know you sound like my mama.
She always writing poems about my mama.
I swear I don't. I probably wrote one poem about my mama and my daddy, and she swear every poem is about her.
That poem is about my, and I feel like that poem just is me as a sister. That poem makes me cry because I feel like you really did grasp what it was like at those moments from that poem. And mama probably ain't gonna like to hear that, but that's just the truth. That's just the truth. Okay.
And it was really random when I wrote that poem. Like, it was like in the middle of the day, and I wasn't even thinking about like that situation, and it just popped up and I wrote it, and I was like, damn. But it was like years and years later for me to write it, so it was like,
yeah, I didn't even think about where you was when you wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay, this leads to my next question, which is, what is your favorite poem that you written?
My favorite poem? You know, I have a favorite poem in all of my books, but I don't know. I feel like if I have like a list, I just make a list of like a top 5 or something. I would say Occasionally Every Day. That's on the poetry album, and I feel like that's a lot of folks' favorite because it's like super relatable and like super catchy, and folks just love when I read it, especially Nisi because she like to repeat certain words.
And what is it about?
Occasionally Every Day was like just, well, specifically it was supposed to be about women, but I mean it can go either way, but it's more like just about like having different parts of yourself, hiding different parts of yourself, or even like trying to not be something that you're not, but mostly like I think of it like makeup, like making yourself up to be this particular thing when you're not. You maybe you are that particular thing, but you're not that and fully, because you know, like everyone has substance. Like there's different parts of ourselves, there's different layers. We still have to, you know, even grasp. But it's just more like having to be something when you walk out the door, I guess.
Okay. And since we're here in the We All We Got bookstore, do you feel like there's any? I know you did mention Nikki Giovanni before. Do you feel like there are any books or anything that you want to mention that has played a part in your existence as a poet?
Again, Nikki Giovanni books, but then again Al Young, because I feel like that poem, The Blues Don't Change, the poem, listen, Al Young poem, his poem is titled The Blues Don't Change. That poem literally changed my life.
How so?
And I think even beyond Nikki Giovanni, like I feel like I don't really go deep into Al Young because that's really like the only poem of his that I know. I'm really deep into Nikki Giovanni because I really follow her work. So for her, like, it's deep in me. But him, that single poem, like, for me to recite that poem at in high school at the Poetry Out Loud, and to even get the response that I got, and just like, and like how reciting that poem made me feel, kind of made me think like, damn, that was dope. You know what I mean?
What is it about?
Black people, really. You gotta read it.
So,
but like the beginning of the poem is like, it starts off like, and I was born with you, wasn't I, blues? Womb with you, wounded, reared, and forwarded from address to address. Stamped and returned to sender by nobody else but you. Blue rider, riding me off every chance you got. And then it goes, you mean old grudgeful-hearted, table-turning demon. You sexy, soul-sucking gem. Blue diamond in the rough, you are forever. No matter how much they, I don't know the rest, but it's a like for me to even have that part, that even a part of that poem memorized, that to this day amazes me, because that was like shit, high school. It was like shit, 8 years. But I don't even want to say the number. Like 8 years ago or so. Like I haven't recited that poem since literally 9th grade, 10th grade, and I graduated college already. I've been out of college for like a year or so. So like that was a very long time ago for me to even, and I haven't even read that poem on paper in like forever. So for me to even have that poem in my head is like, it shows how powerful that was for me.
Mm-hmm. And then you just lead me up to our last question, which is, what if you can go back and tell your 18-year-old self something? What would it be? Like a piece of a gem?
A gem?
Yeah. Whatever you would want to.
I feel like I'm the type of person that would want like insight into like the future, and I guess like just like give myself some type of reassurance, like you're on the right path, you can have some good old times, and just like, you know, give myself something to look forward to, I guess. You know.
Okay. Oh wait, you just made me want to, because I forget about how much that played a part of your experience. Is you spent 6 months. I could say this because I'm her sister.
5 months, really.
5 months in
6 months.
Africa. How much did that play on your overall outlook, or you as a poet? Do you feel like that affected who you are?
Absolutely. Probably because I went there and I wrote an entire book there. About, it's a whole love story thing, whatever. We ain't gonna talk about
What's
that.
the name of it?
It's titled What Happens When the Music Stops. But not even just that, like me as a person, because I feel like I become a better poet when I grow as a person. And just me having the experience of going outside the country and meeting new folks, and then like having those experiences really helped me. Gave me something else to talk about, but also just like gave me a chance to look at different parts of myself that I've never explored before. And then just the outlook of like stepping outside of your current environment and like going somewhere so far and then by yourself at that. And then just being able to like see the world and not have like the baggage of other places or even people, I guess. But like fully like be myself and like be free and like, you know, just like do whatever it was I wanted to do unapologetically, you know.
Okay. And then is there anything that you wanted to add before we end the live?
If you want to, which you should, if you wanted all my books, all of them will be available this Sunday, November 12th. Well, no, not 12th. November 14th, that's a Sunday, at WAWG Bookstore, which is where we are now. I'm going to have a book signing. It's going to be from 1 to 3. Not only will I be signing books, but I will be reading a few poems from a few of these books. And then I will kind of give you guys a background of when I wrote it, why I wrote it, and just my experience with writing poems. So if you want to know all of that, just come through. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. And then we'll be back again next week with another interview. Stay tuned. We'll be announcing it. Have a great day, y'all. It's early. We usually do